Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew, and today we have a very special occasion to mark in the history of paleontology and dinosaurs in media. 30 years ago today, before any member of this channel was born, a movie called Jurassic Park came out. Now, obviously, Jurassic Park needs no introduction. It is one of the most famous films of all time, one of the highest grossing movies of all time. Completely changed the landscape of cinema in terms of special effects, and has a long-standing cultural impact. And we don't need to review any of that for you guys. But today, because we're all paleontologists and our lives are kind of inextricably linked to Jurassic Park as a movie and as a franchise, we wanted to take the opportunity to give you a paleontologist's retrospective and analysis of Jurassic Park and kind of some of the science behind it, and more importantly, its legacy as we see it 30 years from its release and potentially going forward in the future. But before we get into Jurassic Park, there's a couple of things I need to tell you about. The first of these is that in 6 days, on June 17th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, we are going to be starting a 12-hour charity live stream.
That's not in 6 days.
It will be when this releases.
Oh. Lamau. I was confused.
And I'm leaving that in the video.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. Go for it. Oh, you can also...
What is that? Wait, what does that say?
It says for rectal use only.
Oh my god.
Did you just buy a pack of those stickers and just put them on
No,
things?
Kelsey has them. She puts them all over stuff.
Amazing.
I have a bunch of them I'm saving. So 6 days from now, we're going to be running the charity live stream. We are benefiting the Trevor Project. It's Pride Month, and we really believe in the mission of the Trevor Project, which is a suicide hotline for LGBT youth, who, as I'm sure you are probably already aware, are at a high risk for suicide. And the Trevor Project seeks to prevent that. This is something that we really believe in. We want to support them for Pride Month this year. And so we're going to be raising money in our live stream. We can now, because we finally worked out a lot of the details of the live stream, we can tell you some of the activities, and we will make you a community post so that you have everything for your reference. But among things on the schedule will be a live ranking of Indominus Rex for our Jurassic World Evolution 2 tier list. So we'll do that episode live. We'll record the episode and put it up later, but you should be there with us so you can interact with us while we do the episode. I think it'll be very fun. We're going to do a Jurassic Park 30-year anniversary Lego build session. So you're going to get to see us all return to childhood and start playing with Legos, which I haven't done in a little bit too long. Yeah.
Oh, God, it's been ages for me. I can't remember the last time I put together a Lego set.
Yeah.
Pay no attention to the enormous yellow bag behind
I was
us.
gonna say, is this the part where we point out the bag?
The special tool that we'll use later.
We're going to be playing...
All very normal and cool.
We're going to play a couple of dinosaur video games that we haven't featured before on the channel of variable quality. These include Second Extinction, which we all got for free because Epic Games was giving it out for free, which is I'm sure, a testament to its quality. And we'll also be playing something that members of the channel have been asking us to play for a long time now, which is Path of Titans. We're going to round out the night with a little playthrough of Lego Jurassic Park. We're going to do one of the movies in there. And then, as we reach the end of the stream, you're going to see us all end the stream the way we end almost every one of our days, playing Call of Duty 2 Warzone, which is a wonderful tradition that started very late at night for all of us when my friends here were supporting me as I tried to finish my PhD. And I would begin...
We're also not bad.
No.
Point out, we're pretty okay.
Yeah, we're pretty
We
good
win
at the game.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Decent.
yeah,
You'll see.
We're usually top 5. But yeah, no, this is a very special little thing, view into our friendship, is when I was finishing my PhD, I was on a completely messed up sleep schedule and I was working really long hours. Well, I was waking up at like 11 and then working until like 1 a.m. And then when I stopped working, all of these people, except Scott, who had a real job that he had to get to, would be here, and they would be ready to play Call of Duty for an hour or so that I could try to relax before I went to sleep. And we've kind of kept that tradition going now. It's very fun. And so that's how we're going to end the stream.
And the tradition of Scott not being able to make it because I have a real job and have to get up in the morning.
It's a Saturday.
You participate sometimes.
I do participate sometimes, yeah. It's a
that was
weekend
one of the
thing.
darkest. That was one of the darkest points of our friendship when Call of Duty Warzone 2 didn't have the resurgence map.
And it wasn't fun.
I feel like we drifted as friends.
We did. It was really hard for us.
But we've all come back together.
They
Because
released
of the Sheik
Resurgence. Right. The other
Don't worry,
important-
we've never paid for. We don't pay money for it. At least the second one.
Right.
Don't ask about the first one.
Gotta get them Godzilla skins.
Yeah, they bring them back.
That was really important.
They bring back the Snoop Dogg skin, you know I'm getting.
The last thing about the stream that I should mention is that certain donations are going to entitle the donors to gifts from the Skeleton Crew. And so I can say right now that every donation over $5 will be rewarded with the gift of a Skeleton Crew sticker. We're making a special holographic sticker just for the occasion. So this is not something you'll be able to get on our Redbubble store later. You should definitely donate to get it.
While supplies last, too, so get in when you can.
Yes, there will be a limited number, so you want to make sure you get one of them. The much more important prize, though, is sitting right behind me. This is a portrait of my favorite dinosaur, Chinjaosaurus, which was painted by the amazingly talented friend of the channel, Henry Sharp. I commissioned this from him last year. We have a big framed print of it, and the highest donor to the Trevor Project during our live stream will be gifted that print.
How big is it, James? We need to give our viewers a good look as to how large this is.
Do you want me to bring it up?
Bring it up.
All
Bring
right,
it up here.
All right.
Bring it up. I need to see how large my painting's going to be.
Like, yeah, see, this thing ain't insubstantial.
But I mean, now we know James's height, and he's not that tall, so let's take that into consideration.
So yeah, what is it about? It's almost as tall as him. It's about maybe a 4'8" tall painting.
It's about the size of the Italian dwarf hadrosaur, Tethys.
Are you wearing Adidas sweatpants right now? Nice. No, I got them. They're good sweatpants.
I'm wearing basketball shorts. Yeah. So the
Shorts.
What?
I mean, that's such an easy job.
What's the problem?
That the shorts are so long on you, they look like.
James, you missed it. We could relive this in editing. We were making fun of your height the whole time.
Yeah, I bet. Okay. Well, so you know what? I'm
sorry.
going to cut all...
Okay.
Well, I'm not editing this video, so you guys can leave it in if you want, but it's very...
Oh, that's great. Okay.
So the painting, Scott, to answer your question, is I think 24 inches by 32 inches. So it's
Nice.
It's like a movie poster sized. It's
big.
It's big. We are going to restrict shipping of it to the continent of North America because otherwise we would have to pay so much for shipping that we might as well just donate the money to the Trevor Project ourselves and not run the live stream. So
Yeah, we crunched the numbers. It was scary.
It was frightening. If you were in Australia,
We're really, really sorry. The relatively large portion of our audience from Australia.
Yeah. We respect your support. We really, really appreciate it. We will not pay $1,000 to send this to you. But if you're in the US or Canada or Mexico, and you make the highest donation, we will send it to you. So we're really excited about the live stream. To reiterate, it is June 17th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Come in.
Eastern time.
Come in when you can. Stay for the parts of it you want to see, and make a donation to a really, really good cause. Yeah, stay for the whole thing, please. We need company.
And donate early.
No, don't stay for the whole thing. Oh my God, dude!
Yeah.
It's going to be a Saturday. It's probably going to be nice outside. Oh my! Just come for like an hour, maybe two. Donate some money, but Jesus Christ, live.
But donate
Laugh,
early
love.
and donate often, because not only will the highest donor be receiving the grand prize, that's not a one-time donation. So if you come back and you see you're no longer the top donor, you can add on and get back on top of the pile. So
Yeah. And we will announce the winner of the Chinjaosaurus portrait at midnight Eastern time. So that'll be when donations close, and that's when we'll know who wins it. Without further ado, I'm Dr. James Napoli. I am a postdoctoral research scholar at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and North Carolina State University.
My name is Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History.
My name is Scott Johnston. I am the vertebrate paleontology fossil preparator and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology, making his long-awaited return debut. I saw all your comments and they made me very happy. Thank you, guys.
Charming. I'm Alex Rubenstahl. I'm a PhD candidate at Yale University.
And I'm Dalton Meyer, also a PhD candidate at Yale University. And together,
We're the
We're the
skeleton.
skeleton crew.
All right.
That was great, guys. Okay, so while we talk about Jurassic Park, to stay on theme, Dalton is going to be playing actually, Dalton, why don't you introduce it? You're the one doing it.
Yeah. So this is my park from back when I was doing the chaos theory modes of Jurassic World Evolution 2. It's the one where you rebuild Jurassic Park, and it's the what if scenario of what if it was successful. So I did my best to kind of recreate Isla Nublar from the 1993 movie with some modifications of what if this was an actual functioning park, such as there must be better ways to look at the dinosaurs than solely driving in a car. And where would people sleep? Well, in hotels. But there are a number of exhibits. It's mostly just for background. So imagine you're on Isla Nublar in 1993, 30 years ago, watching and living Jurassic Park, and have this in the background while we talk about it. This is your Subway Surfers video below the TikTok that you're watching.
All right. So I think in terms of our discussion for today, we want to hit a couple of major areas, but I think the first one that we should talk about is for anybody who's unfamiliar with kind of the cultural context of Jurassic Park, which I think probably a lot of our younger viewers might not be as much, right? Like, we're all a little younger than Jurassic Park, but we're close enough to it that I think we all, as kids especially, the ones of us who really like dinosaurs, sorry, Amelia, you said you didn't like dinosaurs as a kid. You weren't a dork about it.
No, I didn't. I wasn't a dork about it. Those are two different things.
Got it. Okay, let me rephrase. The ones of us who were dorks about dinosaurs as kids, I think probably got a lot more of the context of Jurassic Park just from the other media that we consumed. If you're one of the younger viewers of our channel, it's actually very possible that you kind of haven't really been exposed to much that's pre-Jurassic Park, right? And so I think we should open up the floor to let's just kind of talk about where we're coming from.
So one of my favorite ways that I like to contextualize exactly what the cultural framework of dinosaurs and prehistory and stuff was right before Jurassic Park came out is actually if you watch either the movie or the trailers for the movie Carnosaur, which was made as a direct, one of those Transmorphers style cash grab, let's confuse people at the VHS store.
It was Roger Corman, right?
I think it's worth pointing out to our audience, and I don't know if this has already been said, but none of us were alive.
Oh, we said that at the beginning.
Okay, cool. I don't want them to think we're that old.
No,
We're
I'm
old.
close.
I think it is a Corwin.
Corman.
Yeah. But
Corbin, Roger Corwin.
But so one of the key things about it is if you just watch the trailer for it, it came out a month before Jurassic Park did. And the animals don't even look a little similar to how they do in Jurassic Park. Everything is upright. Things are dragging their tails. Things are still kind of it had come out that some dinosaurs were fast and agile and more aggressive, but you still have things looking like bipedal iguanas running around and tearing people's heads off. And a guy makes a cheeky line about how he should make a theme park about it. But just seeing the absolute night and day difference between Carnosaurs and Jurassic Park, where these things go from awful, not even just the visual quality of these are just awful puppet things, to real, as we talked about, or I guess as everybody but me talked about in one of our Prehistoric Planet videos, what genuinely just look like real living animals in Jurassic Park that are fast, intelligent, and look the way that we more or less think that dinosaurs looked nowadays.
In one major area less.
In one major area less, but in everything else more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Does everyone remember the first time they saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
I do.
I was so young that I don't. I think I was probably 4, maybe less. I mean, it would definitely have been in my house, but it's such like an ingrained part of my life that I can't imagine my life without Jurassic Park.
I was shockingly old when I saw it. I was 12.
Oh,
my
really,
God.
Scott? I saw
is
it in high
surprising.
school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Although, Amelia, like, again, you weren't a huge dork about dinosaurs, so while I'm surprised that's not I'm surprised Scott was able to make it to 12 being a huge dinosaur dork.
Yeah, well,
and
it's
loving
part that, and the other thing is, like, my parents didn't have it, and I don't think my parents really saw it until in college I bought the DVD and watched it at home. Because, like, and, you know, growing up for me, it's like, if the movie was on a DVD in the house, I would watch it. So there's some bizarre movies, not bizarre, but, like, movies that you would expect most Americans to have seen by their adult lives that I haven't seen just because, like, we didn't have them in the house on VHS or whatever. And Jurassic Park is one of those. Like, I do remember growing up at one point, the second one was on TV at a relative's house, and I remember the cave scene, and I remember the grass, and that's it. But I didn't watch the whole movie because I was like, I want to watch a documentary. I don't want to watch a movie.
I'm surprised your parents didn't see it because it's worth noting that Jurassic Park, when it came out, was the highest grossing movie of all time. And it held that title for a while. I want to say until Titanic came out.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, and it
Yes.
could have been that
Yeah.
they, like, I imagine they saw it when it came out and just hadn't seen it since.
Oh, fair.
You know, like, I don't
Siskel and
remember.
Ebert gave it a mid review too.
There's something about this I want to get into later, but yes, it actually did not get.
But they were like,
tremendous
"Oh, it wasn't
reviews.
as good as Jaws." They were just like, "What?" Like they're like, "Yeah, I guess the special effects were pretty cool."
So
Yeah.
I guess going in order of our height in the column of videos for first time seeing it. I actually don't like Dalton. I don't remember the literal first time, probably. My parents saw Jurassic Park in theaters, and they've always talked about what the experience of seeing it in theaters was like, because, like, you have to put yourself in the shoes of you've never seen special effects like this before at all. And they said that when they were in the theater, that first shot of the Brachiosaurus, you know, the very famous scene where they all see it and then the camera finally reveals it and the music swells, like, apparently the entire theater just gasped. Like, you could just hear this moment going through everybody of, like, I've never seen anything like this. And they showed me the movie pretty early in my life. I was probably like a toddler or a preschooler, but they didn't let me see the scary parts, as they put it. And so they'd let me watch the movie, and I'd see like the beginning third, maybe. So I'd get to see the Brachiosaurus and the initial tour, and then the scene with the Triceratops. And then when the storm started, my mom would turn the movie off. And that's basically what I knew of Jurassic Park at that point. And I had a bunch of the toys, and I knew there were other dinosaurs in it, but there was a scary part I wasn't allowed to see yet. And then there was one time when I was probably about 5 or 6 that my mom was not home, and my dad was showing me the movie. And either my dad fell asleep during the movie or was not aware of the agreement to not show James the scary parts of Jurassic Park. And I watched all of it. And I wasn't scared at all. I was just absolutely entranced and really, like, just, I was so completely into it. And then my mom got home and she was like, "What the hell did you do?" It was very funny. I remember kind of like feeling like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do as a kid. And after that point, I watched all of them and it was all fine. I might have been younger than 5 because we went to the theater to see Jurassic Park 3 for my birthday, because my birthday is around the time it came out.
What year were you born?
95.
You would have been
Turning
6.
6.
Yeah. So like, it must have been when I was about 4 or something like that. But it's like, it was young enough that it was probably too young to watch Jurassic Park. Anyway, very, very special memory for me. And it's, you know, just something I've loved ever since.
So I was over at one of my buddy's places, August, if you happen to watch these videos. Hi, August. It's been a minute. I hope you're doing well. How's Germany? So it is always just kind of shocking to people when I say that I didn't watch Jurassic Park until I was like 12. So like it was always kind of looming over me as something that was just like the big dinosaur movie. And like I knew a lot about it, but again, hadn't seen it. I knew that there were sequels and stuff, hadn't seen those either. But like honestly, what was the biggest like draw for me, like dinosaur media when I was growing up, was like Walking with Dinosaurs, prehistoric, like Dinosaur Planet, stuff like that. Those early documentaries, especially like my really, really early years, were those like PBS animated like
dinosaurs with the exclamation point.
Dinosaurs with the exclamation point and stuff. Yeah. Like you talk about like scary scenes and stuff. I remember when in 1999 watching the original American broadcast of Walking with Dinosaurs, and the bit where the Allosaurus jumps on the side of the Diplodocus near the end of the Titans episode. I remember like hiding under my like little sleeping bag that I was wrapped up in and stuff because it scared the crap out of me.
Maybe your parents were right to ask you to wait until.
Yeah, maybe they were.
Yeah.
When I actually watched Jurassic Park, I remember just like it was amazing. It was. I do remember, like James, having the realization of like, wow, this is way less scary than I thought it was, than I thought it would have been. Because I mean, I also grew up watching Animal Planet and stuff, and watching like animals get disemboweled on the Serengeti and stuff like that on live TV.
You were also 12.
I was also 12. But it was incredible. I remember just like having my mind entirely blown with seeing these animals realized in that way. That like, sure, documentaries and stuff had been doing a pretty good job before that. Nothing beats Jurassic Park. It's built different, to use one of the phrases we use all the time here.
Unlike the weak-minded people that I share this channel with, I remember every moment of my life from my birth, and I know every point of the future. So I do remember the exact moment where I saw Jurassic Park the first time. I was 5 years old. It was at a family friend's house, and my parents, who were, I wouldn't say nearly as caring as Scots, is what I'll say, but they wouldn't just let me watch whatever. There was some curation. I had seen Walking with Dinosaurs before I ever saw Jurassic Park, so I was already a dinosaur head and all that. But I watched it on a dark, rainy night on a old, like, deep TV.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it, and it scared the shit out of me. Horrified, because it was myself, my brother, and then my parents like left to go to dinner. I was like, all right, you'll enjoy this. And so it was just my brother and I when we were watching it. Dylan was like 3, so he was not really like even there. He was just kind of around. So yeah, no, I have like this flashbulb memory of the start of the film with the shaking raptor cage and just being like, that's what it looks like outside. That was a good family friend. That's where I saw Futurama for the first time. And what else? Several violent cartoons on Cartoon Network that I was in. Samurai Jack, Naruto, when they were all on Toonami. So yeah, very strong memory. I think at that point Jurassic Park 3 was out, and it would actually be some time before I saw. I don't think I knew there were others.
Oh, that's interesting.
I did have the cool T-Rex toy that you pressed on its back and it roared, and it has a mouth that you could put like the dudes in and it swallows them. I say did have. I still have it. It's in my house.
I was going to say that's in
But-
my mom's basement, and it's
I
very
would
cherished.
walk around with that.
All of mine are too.
It was I'd carry it around. It was my security blanket, so to speak.
Emotional support Tyrannosaurus.
But I didn't know that was from the second one. I think it's a toy modeled after the second one. I just really liked it, and yeah, I would eventually see. Not too long after, maybe 2-3 years after, I'd see the second and then the third. And I, being a child, really liked the third.
Yeah.
And really liked the second. And as an adult, I also really like both of them, for different reasons. That is my story.
Yeah. So, as I hinted at earlier, I don't remember the exact first time I watched it. I've been doing the mental math to try and pinpoint it, and I think it's sometime in 1999, probably. I was either late 3 or I was 4, because I've been putting together the pieces of the past. The first movie I saw in theaters was Stuart Little, which came out in 1999. I remember that. I know I saw Jurassic Park 3 when it came out in 2001. Yes, Alex.
Were you able to sit through Stuart Little?
Yes.
You didn't have to leave the theater.
No.
Okay. I saw Prisoner of Azkaban was my first in theater movie. I got so scared I had to leave.
Oh, wow. No,
Wait, no, I'm sorry.
No, Sorcerer's Stone. The first one.
I'm like,
I was
Azkaban.
I was
Sorry.
like, you were 10 before your parents were like, there's this place you can go. There's this
He's not ready yet.
No. This is correct. We've all met Alex. He can't be trusted in spaces with people.
There's a building you can go to. It's dark, and there's a large screen, and a movie plays, but you have to pay to see it, and you can't choose the movie, really.
I want to go to there.
You can choose which room you enter. You cannot choose what movie is playing within the room.
So I did not have to leave the theater during Stuart Little. And I think that may have been kind of a litmus test. My mom, I mean, I say that I saw it when I was maybe 3 or 4, and that sounds possibly irresponsible, but my mom was not an irresponsible parent. I don't say this in a braggadocious way, because like, who knows how any child is going to be, but I think very early on I was pretty good at recognizing like what was real and what was make believe, and so I wasn't scared by most movies. And so my mom loves movies, and going to the theater was like a really important activity for us growing up. But she loves Jurassic Park, and so very early on she showed me Jurassic Park. And frankly, I don't know if my interest in dinosaurs was before or after Jurassic Park. I think it was pretty confluent with the first time I saw it. And I remember I loved it. From that point on, I was like, I want to be a paleontologist. I mean, as James has said this, and I don't want to feel like I'm copying James, but Jurassic Park is the reason that for most of a lot of my life, beyond a few other things I found interesting, I was like, I either want to make movies or I want to study dinosaurs. Like, I want to be a paleontologist or make movies. Because we also had a bunch of like behind the scenes featurettes about the making of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, those rocks.
But
Did you find it interesting enough to curate a kind of internet forum about it, Dalton?
well, yes, I didn't know how much we were going to talk about our influence, but during high school, I was a moderator on the Jurassic Park Legacy fan forum, which was one of the larger forums.
Shut up! You were?
Yes, I was a mod. I was a
Oh my
longtime user on
God.
that, and I was a moderator on it. It was a fun place.
I remember that
Jurassic
forum.
Park. I know a lot
The
about
commander of the canon.
the canon of Jurassic Park and the development of it. It's one of my special interests is Jurassic Park. Not only because it has dinosaurs in it, but it's an incredibly important movie to me. I've seen it more times than I can count. We used to do a lot of road trips growing up. I think the first time I remember flying, I was probably like 10 or 12, and so all of our like vacations were driving around because flying was very expensive and we couldn't afford it. And we had this little portable TV that was like maybe this big, and you could plug it into the cigarette lighter of a car, and it had a built-in VHS. And I would just bring Jurassic Park and The Lost World, and I would watch them over and over on road trips. And it was like, yep, that's what I'm just going to be doing. I'm just going to watch Jurassic Park 5 times, and I'll be happy. And
Nice.
we did that. We took a road trip with the TV when I was turning 6 in 2001. Took a road trip to Utah and went and visited Dinosaur National Monument,
Oh yeah.
and then went and saw Jurassic Park 3, and it was a great, phenomenal time. So that's my
Dalton.
Park. There is no Dalton without Jurassic Park. Alex.
I think I know what the last, not the first time, but the last time that you've seen Jurassic Park and I've seen Jurassic Park was in the recreational room slash like washing machine room
Oh yeah.
at the Petrified Forest National Park when we were coming back from camping in the desert for 2 weeks to discover that Sterling Nesbitt's group was camping next to the showers and nice facilities and not getting dust and everything. And we came in looking like desert freaks.
Yeah.
And we just sat on their couch, ate ice cream out of the freezer, and watched the first, I think, hour of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We were horrible gremlin people. And it was good. As good as any other time.
Yeah.
But now
Amelia.
Amelia,
Oh.
yes.
Finish your
I'll
point.
save mine for later.
Is it related?
It's related. It's something all of us experience that's related to Jurassic Park.
Okay.
That's very
Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is fun for me because I get to brag a little bit, and that my first time seeing Jurassic Park was in a theater because I went for either the 20 or 25th anniversary re-release in just a small local theater near me. So I was like, you know what? I haven't seen it. I probably should because I like dinosaurs. At this point, I'm in high school, so I was thinking. I think at that point I was thinking I was going to be an airplane pilot because that was my plan A. But I'm like, oh, dinosaurs are cool. We should go see this movie. I've heard it's very good. So I went. I brought my boyfriend, or not boyfriend at the time. We were friends at the time, and his brother. And I think my mom might have come. I don't know. We go to the theater. We go, and it was something else. It was so good. And I'm very glad that was the first experience I had with it. Because it is different. Because nothing's ever been able to kind of come close, and like I cannot fathom what it would have been like to go see it in 1993.
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember. I don't have the exact number, and I wish I did because it's kind of, it's a little silly, but not perhaps unexpected. My undergrad advisor Thomas Carr has told us how many times he went to see it in the theaters, and it's a lot. I don't think he told us. I think one of his friends told us because he wouldn't tell us. But like, I can't imagine what it would have been, like not only for like the general public, which is seeing it as a movie with cool special effects and monsters and things, but like to be someone interested in dinosaurs at that time and then to see machines that look like animals, because they hold up now. Like every time I go back and watch it, I'm like, this is better than most of what I've seen in a very long time. Because like nowadays, so many movies make such heavy use out of CGI that like I remember when a couple of us went to see the new Top Gun movie together, and like part of what made it so good, I think, in my opinion, is that it was real airplanes, there were real things happening, and it just brings kind of, I don't know, a different air to movies that a lot of things nowadays. Not to sound like a curmudgeon, but these movies nowadays just got too much computer graphics.
Unless, of course, it's Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yes.
Sure. Well, they loop back around to looking real, so it works. Yeah.
The horseshoe theory of CGI. It
Yeah.
should be. Yeah, we're all film perverts here on the channel.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's like a formative thing for me. And even like in high school, that is not the reason I kind of steered back towards dinosaurs and paleo and stuff.
So you're saying you didn't run, you weren't the keeper of the cannon in high school?
No.
I didn't run the
Shame.
forum. I was just a moderator.
I made use of your forum. I remember.
I was on there a lot.
I remember looking something up about the Jurassic Park Operation Genesis 2. About like, I can't even remember what it was, but I went on because I had the game on PS2 and I basically just switched between that and Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Not much has changed.
I had a question and your forum helped.
Yeah, but to kind of come full circle or to wrap up what for me what it was is I think because it was close whatever year it was, again it must have been before Jurassic World, but I actually don't know. I might have seen Jurassic World when I saw it. I don't remember because it could have been Jurassic World was 2016 or
2015.
2015. So it could have been I either saw it in 2013 or 2018 because it would have been 20 or 25 and I don't remember. But I feel like I saw it before Jurassic World, but I don't really know.
I don't think it was re-released for the 25th anniversary.
It was.
It was? Okay.
I don't know. I don't know and I don't remember. And the other thing is I went to a really small local theater back home, so they might have been doing their own thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know. And I could also be completely wrong, and they might have re-released it the year of Jurassic World. Like, I don't know. I think I saw it before Jurassic World, so it was either for 20 or just that theater was re-releasing it ahead of Jurassic World. Because at that point, it had been how many years since Jurassic Park 3? Because I remember Jurassic World was a really big deal, like when it was coming out.
It was 14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I regret not having seen it in theater. I've only seen the Jurassic World films in theater.
Oh,
I saw the re-release in theater.
Well, wait, I have one story to tell about the re-release before we get to the cool story. Amelia,
I have a question for Alex and James after James's story.
Amelia, but are you done with your story?
No, I think that's really all I have to say about it. Is that it was in a theater and it was very cool, and I like it a lot, obviously.
So the re-release in 2013 is the one I saw. I did not see the 2018, I guess, re-release.
Okay, so then maybe there wasn't one. Maybe it was just for the 20.
That's why I think. And also, Amelia, you were in college in 2018, right?
Again, my memory of high school is hazy.
Sure, right.
Like I don't really remember. I would have started college in 2016, but that's what I'm saying. I don't really remember, but because I am pretty sure I saw it before Jurassic World, so I think it was 2013 because I think it was high school.
Yeah, because that's the one I saw, and I saw it twice in theaters. I went with my younger sister for just a brother-sister outing. Now, she is quite a bit younger than me, so it was like I could drive a car, and she was a fairly little kid. It was very cute. And we went, and we saw it, and it was wonderful. But then I was like, holy shit, that was great. I got to get all my friends out to see this, too. And so I texted a bunch of my friends, and a bunch of us went, and all of them were like, James, I don't want to fucking watch Jurassic Park. Like, this is like some... They had seen it as kids. They didn't remember it in all the glory and everything. And so they're all like, kind of like, oh, James, come on. We have to go see Jurassic Park. Really? I know you like dinosaurs, but isn't this kind of a lot? And we all saw the movie. And I remember everybody walking out just being like, that was fucking amazing. Like,
so good.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. And it's like one of those wonderful moments of like every teenage boy who needs to be like contrarian about things, just dropping it for a second to be like, that's a good fucking movie. That's a really good fucking movie.
I got a large screen. This was 3 summers ago, but I basically had to drag my friends to see a screening of Jaws on the big screen.
Tremendous.
And they were like, I don't really want to watch Jaws. And I'm like,
yes, you did.
It's so good.
And we did, and we were all like, that's very cool, because on the huge screen, you can much more clearly see that chick's naked, and it's very cool. And also the horrible shark murders and how drunk the actor who plays Clint was the whole time. But yeah, Steven Spielberg, he knows how to make a big
picture.
A big picture. He put his whole Spielbussy into it.
Alex
and
the
same year as Schindler's List.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll never be that talented.
No. Alex and James, do you remember what your usernames were on the Jurassic Park Legacy forum?
I was a lurker. I didn't have an account.
I was a lurker
I was
as well.
Also a lurker.
I don't believe any of you.
No,
Hey,
I was too afraid to make accounts places, so I never made one.
You see how little I post on Twitter. I've always been a lurker.
We were actually pretty... No, we were a pretty low-tech household until, like, I was in high school, and, like, by that point, the internet was mostly just kind of like a resort. Like, I was never a very online person, unlike I am now.
We were also a low-tech household. Like, we didn't get, like, really particular...
I played outside, James.
We didn't
I
get
did too.
internet until...
No, I'm saying, look how far we've come.
Yeah, right.
The wrong direction. We used to play, like, huge neighborhood games of Manhunt, and, like, walk through the woods and just throw sticks at shit. It was like a fucking Stephen King novel.
Wow. No, so like I grew up like very isolated from like the rest of town, just in that like we were out on like a property that it was basically impossible to walk into town. So and there's no one else living on this property. So like this kind of had nothing to do all summer. especially before I could drive. And we didn't really we had dial-up internet for a while, but we didn't get good internet until high school. So similar to Alex, I didn't have good internet in high school. That's when but once we had good internet, I became immediately a horribly online person, because during the summer I was like, especially before I could drive, I was like, oh, here's how I can actually like do stuff and entertain myself because I can't go anywhere.
Right. No,
that's rough. Being like in the middle of the country and just like stuff so far apart. I couldn't imagine it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
I was not a low tech household because like my dad's always worked in the computer realm, so like we always generally had like pretty like current tech, but
Same.
I was always very nervous about doing things on the internet. I was just like, I'm afraid to make accounts places. I was very afraid to like, you know what I mean? It was like, I'll like visit, but I didn't want to like commit in that way. There was something that felt weird about it.
It felt serious.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know what it was. It's not like I didn't play video games and stuff. I was very into a lot of video games. But just like being active in an online community was something that gave me pause. Honestly, I don't feel like I was comfortable being active in an online community until like college or grad school. I remember in college I was on Reddit quite a lot.
What? You?
I know.
I was a moderator on a forum for Spore. Y'all remember that game?
Wow.
God.
Oh my god.
I went to parties and smoked a lot of weed.
I didn't.
I had important formative experiences with members of the gender I was attracted to. And I also played hours and hours and hours of Star Wars Battlefront 2 by myself. It was all about keeping parts of your lives segregated.
So anyway, Alex, you've been wanting to tell a story for like 20 minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, no, just like a fun lead-in, because this was a story, this is not my story, it's everyone's story. That when we were celebrating Jimbo becoming a doctor, Jimbo.
Right.
Oh, yes.
We all went into New York City. And we got obliterated. We went to a bar. We ate very little food.
We ate spaghetti out of bags.
We did.
Yeah.
We went to the spaghetti tavern. May it rest in peace.
And we got absolutely
It's gone?
trashed.
It's gone. I walked past the other day. It's on my
no.
way to the museum, and it's like I walked past a couple weeks ago. I was like, "You're kidding me!"
No,
And I
it's
saw
sad.
it. Like the really sad part was you would see as I was getting close to it, like coming back from the museum that day. I was watching people ahead of me, everyone doing a double take, and then walking over to read the sign on the door, and you'd see them read it, and their shoulders kind of slump. It was so sad.
I
That's
can't
rough.
go back and have my scrotum of cacio e pepe again.
No, I'm upset. I liked it. It was so good.
I loved it. It was amazing.
So
For those of our viewers,
context,
yeah.
this was a bar called the Spaghetti Tavern in the Upper West Side of New York City, where they would make. I just rewatched that entire series in preparation for the new
It's
season.
so good.
Anyways, I got to the house flipping episode. Anyways,
Which series is this?
I haven't seen
What we
that.
do in the
What we do
shadows.
in the shadows.
Right.
it's so good. It's great. Anyways, so we go to the Spaghetti Tavern, and basically there's a giant moose statue outside. It's got Western decor inside. I believe it was run by Australians.
Yes.
They've got a ton of different whiskeys, and then they've got homemade spaghetti pasta that comes in a paper bag.
I
And
used to
it's
say, well, I mean, the target audience of this bar was basically me, except for the country
Yes.
music, because like
Then it was me.
the main drink, whiskey, the main food, handmade pasta, the decor, taxidermied deer. Sublime.
It was
I have
great.
no idea how
Anyway.
it came into being. It existed for too short a time.
Someone probably
Anyway.
someone probably made a joke that was like, haha, spaghetti western, and then they were like, let's do it. And
Right.
then yeah. All right, Alex, go on.
Anyway, the big event of the evening, though, was we were going to go to the opening. Well, we went to the opening night screening of Jurassic World Dominion, the final film in the Jurassic World trilogy.
We hope.
And it wasn't just us five. It was a larger group, including a lot of the Yale graduate students as well. and I believe some friends of both James and Scott. Right? You had some friends of. yours there.
Well,
I mean, they were our friends.
Yeah,
but, like,
yes.
yeah.
Mutual friends. Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess Amelia was there too.
Yeah, two of my
I
closest
was there, and
friends from
Brady was
college.
there too.
Yeah.
Don't forget Brady.
Oh yeah, Brady was there.
Being
Alright.
tall and quiet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, tell him to talk more, so I'll remember him.
You hear that?
No, I remember him.
Hey, congrats on the new job, Brady.
Happy for you. Anyway, so we get in. Everyone's getting their snacks. And we all settle down in our long row in the middle of the theater. And they're playing all the ads. And at the end of the ads, out walks no one, just some guy, and he's like, "Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we just have one more trailer we want to show you. It's for an upcoming thing." And out walk two figures. The first is Colin Trevorrow, the director of the film Jurassic World Dominion, who I think is a pretty good director in some things. So that was cool. It's always cool to see the directors. But then with him came Jeff Goldblum, and we lost our minds.
Yeah.
We all collectively had a fit. He's so cool.
Well, because they said, they're like, we have the director Colin Trevorrow and an actor from the film, and they didn't tell us which actor. So we're like, oh, it's probably going to be like one of the side. It's going to be a side. No.
Jeff.
I don't even remember that. I don't
Yeah.
remember. And he got up there, and we were huge fans and didn't ask a question, even though we definitely could have.
Oh,
We tried.
I had my
tried too
hand
late.
raised the
We tried too late. We had to
entire
get in there
time.
early.
No, you was not the entire time.
It
This
wasn't
part I
the
remember.
entire time.
No, it was not the
Uh-oh.
entire time because
I
we
didn't
were
mean to start a
like,
fight.
we were having a fit for like 5 whole minutes.
So our
trying
good
to figure out
friend,
what to do.
supporter and viewer of the channel, Kelsey Jenkins, a fellow PhD candidate here at the Yale University. She was sitting in between Dalton and I. And then Roxanne, another PhD candidate at Yale University, she's sitting on the aisle, in the aisle seat. And Kelsey's favorite actor in the whole world is Jeff Goldblum. She has shirts with him on it. I mean, I like him. I like The Fly, but she's a huge fan. She is like carving rivulets of flesh out with her fingernails from both of our arms, and it was great. And then on his way out, he apparently, Roxanne got a passing shoulder touch from Mr. Goldblum, and was also very pleased. Anyway, that was rad. The movie was pretty good, but I think
I'll disagree with that.
that was probably the best part.
That was the best part. Well, there was also something else that happened that you're forgetting to mention, because I was close to the end of the aisle. And I forget who was like, James, go up and say something, because
It was probably me.
Yeah, it might
Because
have
I
been
was
you.
next to you.
Yeah, it might have been you. Because like,
and then it got translated into like, and then I was like, I'll say something, and I was like holding my hand up and waving it around because they said they were going to do a Q&A, and it was singular Q and singular A. They answered one question.
One
and
single
No, there was
Q.
2 or 3.
Yeah, but
But one of them was bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. But,
Anyway.
but
One
anyway,
sucked.
I want to reiterate this for the viewers. 2 days prior, I got my PhD in paleontology at the American Museum of Natural History, which is where Amelia is a student.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was no, but let me complete this. It's a whole group of mostly paleontologists there. Like my good friends Chris and
Entire
Nick
row.
are not paleontologists; they're geologists. They were also there because
Close
they're
enough.
friends of me and Scott, and they were there to support me as well. It was wonderful that I had a huge number of friends there. But many of us were paleontologists, and so I go up to the usher and I'm like, "Hey, listen." I think you should know, like, I just got my PhD in paleontology. A bunch of my friends came in from several different places to celebrate this by going to see this movie. We're all here right now celebrating. Like, this is like a great idea for a photo op or something with Jeff Goldblum and Colin Trevorrow. And the usher's like, sit down.
I didn't know about that. That's the first time.
I saw you get up and tell him that.
That's so humiliating.
I didn't know he said.
I
sit
didn't
down.
hear the sit down
It
bit.
was like, yeah, sit down. And, that was it. That was the end of this.
It's like we've got like
Oh, I would have
potentially
never shared that.
It
a
was so
third.
funny.
We've got like a third of the paleontologists from the East Coast in that row. And
Yeah.
they're like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, whatever. Sit down.
Oh, that's rough.
Oh,
I-
it was
I'm-
so funny.
I was trying to ask,
You're
like,
Pipsqueak,
have that
huh?
be my question as well, of just like, not a question, but we have an entire row of paleontologists here who are probably all inspired by this. Well, a movie that this is apparently a sequel to.
I was inspired by Sam Neill.
To be like, I cannot go back in time and pinpoint the exact time or whatever when I really made up my mind, but like Jurassic World was probably more important for me just because it was a new movie that came out while I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. You know, like, because what did we say, it was 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hadn't picked, so I was either looking at colleges or hadn't picked one yet. And the reason I found Carthage was one day I was like, I don't really want to live far from home. Is there any paleontology in Wisconsin? Because dinosaurs are cool. It'd be fun to do as an elective. And here we are.
Here we
And
are.
also, if we're being
Dinosaurs.
100% honest, the piece of media that had the biggest influence on me in terms of dinosaurs was the 2000 Disney dinosaur movie.
Oh wow.
Oh, see,
Really?
that I did watch.
I saw that. Like, we're talking about seeing like dinosaur movies in theaters. I don't remember if that was the first one I saw in theaters. That was the one that I wouldn't even be surprised if that still holds the record of the movie I've seen the most in theaters. I think it was like 8 or 9 times.
Wow.
It was so many.
When did it come out?
2000.
2000. There is a chance I might have seen it in theaters. I really don't know. I know it's not my first movie.
It's some parts of it hold up, a lot of it don't.
Soundtrack's a banger though.
The soundtrack, I still listen to the soundtrack.
Might have to give it another listen. I don't remember it.
The soundtrack is like not even like, oh, it's pretty good. It is genuinely incredible. I'll send you like, there's there's one track that they don't have on anything else besides YouTube that I'll send you right afterwards. That's a good like compilation of the whole thing.
Okay.
Because I've listened to this a lot.
So
James, were you a walking with being kind of important, or did that come to you like? Did walking with come to you when the ship had already set sail?
So Jurassic Park wasn't my ship setting sail. This is a very sweet story, and so
That's
I'll
not
tell
what I
it.
asked.
I know, but I'm gonna tell this story anyway. I was like 2, so when I was a little kid, my mom did a lot of like flashcard enrichment type things because she wanted a smart child. Didn't work.
No.
But she was doing all these things, and so every morning it would be like a different little pre-made flashcard set that she'd like show, and like she'd increase the number of them that I'd see every day over time. So like one of them was flowers, which I was like, I don't give a shit about that. One of them, I remember as a kid that basic emotion every time I saw the fucking tulip flashcard. I was like, okay. One of them was just collections of numbers that were like different numbers of red colored dots, so that you could like do like quicker quantification or something. But one of them was dinosaurs.
The numbers, Mason.
Right. I don't know what they meant. But then one of them was dinosaurs, and I apparently was like, I couldn't really even talk yet firmly, but I just kept like asking my, like, just kind of like complaining until she'd show them to me again and again. And over time, like, she just started printing out like pictures of dinosaurs and making new flashcards and everything, so that eventually there were 300 of them. And she would lay them out over the floor, and I had memorized every single dinosaur. So she would tell me, like, and I was like barely like able to really walk. So she'd be like, which one is Massospondylus? And I'd like crawl walk over to it and like pick up the Massospondylus card. And like it was all of that. So like I was just completely influenced from a very young age. I don't
passion
remember
and
this.
love was conditioned in you like a dog.
Well, this never happened with any of the other stuff, Alex. I see the joke, but I'm shooting it down right now. It was just something. It was just one of those things where it was immediate. And so all of the dinosaur media I saw kind of actually happened in response to like my parents realizing I liked dinosaurs a lot. It wasn't the precipitating thing.
Jimbo's first word was Dilophosaurus.
I wish.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
My first word.
My
was
love
hot.
came.
Amazing.
My mother, she worked in the textiles. No, she was very in New York. But we'd go on lunch because I'd go into work with her because my dad also worked, and I just walk around the American Museum 4th floor for an hour like every weekend, and that's where it formed. And then Walking with Dinosaurs came. Like, this is the coolest thing that anyone's ever produced. It's the pinnacle of art. And then everything else followed. So I formed it naturally, is what I'm saying, not through rote memorization.
I think I was other way around, and or not other way around. Like, I saw Jurassic Park, I think, before Walking With, because I guess someone else earlier said Walking With aired in '99 in America,
Yep.
and I know we didn't watch it when it aired because my mom and I didn't have cable. My grandma did, and I don't even think she had like BBC, so I don't think we even knew about it. But I saw Jurassic Park, loved the dinosaurs. We were always going to the Denver Museum, like all the time. And then at some point found the VHS copy of Walking with Dinosaurs. And then I watched that. My mom would leave for work, and then I would have to wait like a half hour to 40 minutes to get on the bus for school. So I'd go over to my grandma's house because she lived next door to us. And I would just sit in the mornings and watch the Walking with Dinosaurs like every morning. So
Based.
Yeah.
We're really talking a lot about the science of Jurassic Park.
Well, yeah, so I want to get into the kind of the scientific background of them. So we've talked a lot about like our personal experience with it.
Our feelings.
Yeah, our feelings, which are very, very strong, because clearly this is a movie that's pretty important to all of us.
It's the best of the entire franchise by a lot.
By several nautical miles.
Steven Spielberg is a very good director.
Goated.
It's got a banger soundtrack that John Williams put his whole Williamosy in it. It's got character. It's the Jurassic Park movie with actual characters too. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember every single one of them, and then Lost World, I couldn't tell you. Like, I remember what happens to. Oh, the bald guy who is the hunter. He was cool.
Roland Tembo.
No, yeah, Tembo. Yeah. But like Muldoon's great. Every character is so tight, and Sam Neill is so fucking good in it. It's the second best Sam Neill movie.
What's the first best Sam Neill movie?
In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh.
It's the third, because Possessed is also great. But
I really liked him in Hunt
stuff.
for the Wilder People.
Yeah, also very good.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, just fantastic.
Yeah.
Now science. I just want to clarify our position.
Yeah, and to be clear, I don't think this is going to be a scientific Stunlock video. We have the rest of our channel for that, but I think
we got stuff planned.
We've got a lot of stuff planned, but
we have plans you don't even know about.
Right. We have plans we don't even know about.
We have a plan. No, never mind.
Have a goddamn plan.
So I think that what we need to talk about, though, is like, to understand Jurassic Park, you kind of need to place it a little bit in the scientific context, right? Mm-hmm. Because Jurassic Park is kind of a nexus point, really. Like, it's the culmination of a tremendous amount of research and a reinvigoration of interest in dinosaurs. So for a little bit of background, right? Well, actually, this is mostly a Yale story. I'll let the Yale boys tell it.
Sure.
Are we talking about the dinosaur renaissance?
We are.
The dinosaur renaissance is
I mean, if you compared like the dinosaur renaissance to like paleontology of the last 20 years, it looks like nothing. But it was important. Sorry,
isn't the argument of the dinosaur renaissance that like that's when it started and we're still in it, sort of thing?
I've heard the new period called like the neo. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's so unimportant. But the dinosaur renaissance is important. Dalton's looking at something. I don't know what Dalton's looking at.
No, I'm going to grab some visual aids while you're talking.
Oh, get your visual aids.
But keep going.
Anyway, so dinosaurs were discovered not discovered, but named in 1842. There was like, what are they? Who knows what they are? A lot of stuff was floated. They're big lizards. They're kind of more active mammally. Maybe they're closely related to birds. And in the kind of early 20th century, this emerging consensus formed in the scientific community that, one, they were not related to birds. Two, big reptiles, slow and doomed to extinction. And I think the doomed to extinction part is kind of important and is often said in historical treatments of the field, and it is not usually communicated in the proper context of the thinking that was like why everyone was why dinosaurs were considered of secondary importance was because they went extinct, and this was kind of all very tied into the weird eugenics that was like the ideas of eugenics and how things evolved and all that stuff that was popular at the time. That kind of that put dinosaurs on a trajectory that they stayed in until about the 50s, until John Ostrom of Yale and some other people, but this is a Yale story. So John Ostrom, he found some weird stuff in Utah. This weird stuff belonged to Montana. Was the first? Oh, right. It's the oh my god, so embarrassing. In Montana, my goodness. Deinonychus, which all of it definitely went to the Peabody, and no one else had any of it first.
Right. Well, there is an AM&H story in here as well, because Barnum Brown had collected quite a bit of Deinonychus material in Montana in like the 20s. Like a pretty good skeleton.
But he didn't name it.
Well, he was going to.
Too bad. He didn't.
Yeah, he didn't do it. No, I mean, I don't want to take it away from Yale. Like, John Ostrom's the one who made all the connections, but I know that, I think he writes it in the monograph, it was just like a very kind of humorous aside that he was like, I was going to the AM&H to like look through their collections to see if there was anything comparable. And out on a table was just another one that Barnum Brown had found. And I think Barnum Brown was still alive at the time, so I think he was just like showing it to John Ostrom, being like, "Oh yeah, I found this."
He's like, what?
Cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, yeah. So there is an AM&H specimen. It is not the type. It's on display.
Yes. So Deinonychus is found, and Ostrom, in his work, notes that it is the skeleton of an animal that would have likely been very active, and also notes many similarities to birds. There's a great comparative description between it and Archaeopteryx. And he also Ostrom does a lot of other kind of work with classic Peabody specimens and non-Peabody specimens that are on the bird ear line, where he notes more and more similarities. He's got his work with Compsognathus. He's got an important reworking of Coelurus. But yeah, anyway, so this is the reemergence of the bird dinosaur hypothesis in paleontology. Mm-hmm. And once it gets going, like it gets going.
And there's also a Harvard specimen too.
I'm sorry.
There's a Harvard specimen too, and if memory serves, cool. It was I think it was the third one, and there were some pieces that it had that were missing from the other ones.
Yeah. So the description of Deinonychus is several specimens, and the skull reconstruction is composite. There are some small mistakes with it, but it's fine because it was important and it changed the field.
We'll talk about that in our Deinonychus video.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Deinonychus stuff later. Anyway, so this discovery kind of launched a debate about the place of dinosaurs in kind of an evolutionary context. It would inspire other paleontologists. It would launch kind of these popular science books, the dinosaur heresies.
Bakker.
There we
go.
Seminal. There it is.
Yeah, so Bakker was an undergrad at Yale, I believe, and then continued to do paleontological resource at hand. And it's important to note that like the dinosaur renaissance happened in the scientific literature, but like there's a couple of books that really like cemented it in the public consciousness, and this is one of the most important books for like the revolution of how we understand these animals.
Yeah. And there's also another part of it that actually doesn't happen at Yale that is, I think, less talked about in the popular narrative, right? So, like, Bob Bakker starts as an undergrad at Yale. He does the life reconstruction illustration of Deinonychus for the initial papers, which has, like, a lot of anatomical problems. There were some misidentifications of bones in the skeleton, and, like, it's not how we'd reconstruct it now, but at the time, this tremendously important image of a dinosaur running.
Yes.
Right. That is something that we had basically not seen before, except for ornithomimosaurs, which were so obviously fast-running animals that even like old school paleo artists couldn't not draw them that way.
Yeah. Gilmore couldn't bash it up.
Right. He messed up a lot of other. Gilmore actually created the circle of hell that I live in right now, and then he had the wise idea to die before the paper came out. Literal throwing a hand grenade into
Giga Chad move.
But so Bob Backer is an undergrad, like draws that really important piece of art. The first thing to really show a predatory dinosaur at like a full sprint, right? Leg all the way up, clearly an active animal, alert like a bird. And then goes to do his graduate work at Harvard, actually, and continues working on a couple of major problems, which are dinosaur metabolism, so whether dinosaurs were warm or cold-blooded, and whether dinosaurs were monophyletic, which is something that is, I think, often not discussed.
Wait, that
was Backer.
was Bacher?
Yeah.
I thought Jock figured that out.
No, he figured out that birds were theropod dinosaurs.
Damn.
Well, I
Okay.
think Jock also, I think, did it with like cladistics. It was like, hey, if we use cladistic methods, dinosaurs are monophyletic.
Oh.
But
Yeah, I mean,
Bacher
I guess it's worth saying that,
also
like, if you were to get a book from a book about dinosaurs from like maybe the 60s deeper into time, the tree, because this was all pre-cladistic, at least for paleontology, the tree for archosaurs is this horrible mess of things, all coming out of this primitive group called thecodonts, which are toothy little. Some of them are crocs, some of them are now crocs are little dinosaurs. But yeah, the three major groups of dinosaurs, theropods, sauropods, and ornithischians, are all branching out of this mess that is also shared with pterosaurs and crocs, so and birds, because while birds were not considered to be dinosaurs, there was a belief that they were some kind of archosaur. So yeah. So
No,
it was quite a big deal to prove that dinosaurs were all.
I mean, even the text of a lot of Romer's books says that. Like, it'll even it'll make a point of saying, like, we often call these animals dinosaurs, but they're actually no more closely related to each other than, like, crocodiles are to lizards or something like that. Like, they really think they're just completely separate groups of animals.
And that was not prescribed originally with Owen's original naming of Dinosauria, because that was Iguanodon, Megalosaurus,
Hyleosaurus.
Hyleosaurus.
It was those three.
Were there 4 or 3?
It was those three. Cetiosaurus came pretty quickly afterward, but it was those three.
Right.
Actually.
So that was the idea that these were all separate lineages came after.
Right.
So it was re-monophyleticalized.
Right. And so Bob Backer noticed a lot of important traits shared, especially between early sauropod line dinosaurs, what we call prosauropods at the time, and very, very early ornithischians. He actually thought that they formed a group together. This is the dark secret in dinosaur phylogeny. That tree is only a couple of steps out from the most parsimonious tree. No? It's a dark secret. Nobody will talk about it. Nobody talks about the fact that it's almost as optimal a solution as the currently accepted hypothesis.
Almost being the operative word.
But I mean, what it's saying is it's so close it could flip.
Yeah.
It could.
It's the one I believe believes.
Like these trucks are flipping from all the stegosaurs. Jesus, look at him go!
Oh my
Oh
God.
wow!
Oh my God.
The Stegosaurus in this game is a menace.
Yeah, it's a terrifying monster.
There's a menace.
But anyway, so
Bob, we'll complicate this.
We love him. While Bob Backer was doing all of this really important research at Yale and Harvard, there was another figure kind of operating out west, who is a very famous paleontologist, Jack Horner. He's very important to Jurassic Park lore because he was the scientific advisor for Jurassic Park. He was the scientific advisor for the franchise until Fallen Kingdom. Like, he was even for 4 of the movies. Fallen Kingdom didn't have a researching paleontologist as their advisor, and then Steve Buscatti, who is a friend of ours, was the scientific advisor.
Friend of the channel.
One. Right, friend of the channel, Steve Buscatti.
He was in Jurassic World.
You could say Jack Horner's kingdom fell, and he wasn't on Fallen Kingdom.
But,
right. Yeah, and Jack Horner
that
was in.
It was Riley Black for Fallen Kingdom.
Right, who's a very prominent science writer, but not a researcher. Right, which is why I made the distinction. Jack Horner has a really unconventional path into the field. And Jack's been very open about this. He's very, very severely dyslexic, and he was not able to pass language requirements that he needed to graduate from college. So he actually has no college degree.
Honestly, he was a huge inspiration for me getting into the field because, as I've joked about a lot, but I don't think I've said plainly, I also have pretty severe dyslexia, not to the level that Jack Horner does, but to the level where I had difficulties in my undergrad. And during a lot of times where I was genuinely not sure if I could make it through this and actually become a paleontologist, I would just remember, I was like, Jack had a much harder time with this, and he's worked with a lot.
So Jack started out as a fossil preparator at Princeton, and then Princeton's museum was dissolved by Princeton. Princeton has recently decided to start hiring paleontologists again, which is a really good decision. But in the late 70s, they decided paleontology wasn't an area of research they wanted. They gave all of their collection away. It all went to Yale, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot of it. They
Yeah.
become what we call molecule brain.
Right. And so their museum was dissolved, and Jack was out of a job. And so Jack went back home to Montana, where he was from, and started working with local collectors, is my understanding of the story. And he wound up making a lot of contributions to one particular area of dinosaur paleobiology that was a part of the dinosaur renaissance, which is that dinosaurs were good parents. He found the first nests of dinosaurs in North America, embryonic fossils or like perinatal fossils that were just born individuals. So the reason I bring him up is Maiasaura, right, being the key discovery.
Its name literally meaning the good mother lizard,
Right.
Which we'll talk about later
Right.
when it comes up on the wheel.
Right, exactly. Right, I forgot that's in the game. So when we...
I know.
Yeah, I always forget.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And so the end result of the dinosaur renaissance is you're kind of coming at it from both ends, with Bob Backer being like, dinosaurs are a real group, they were warm-blooded, and they're the ancestors of birds. And Jack Horner coming at it from the other angle and being like, and we also know that dinosaurs are like good parents, there's parental care, there's evidence of complex social behavior, nesting colonies and all of that sort of thing.
I think it's worth, before we continue, pointing out that like these two are very important figures for this time of like paleontology, and they're not the only people, right? Like the whole field was making movements and changes, and there's like a lot of that other stuff, like I said before, is happening in the scientific literature. Horner and Bacher are the two figures who I think made the most impact outside of the very narrow sphere of like inside baseball paleontology, where it's like the Horner and the Bacher, I don't know why I said it like that. Horner and Bacher are the ones who are like the public face of the dinosaur renaissance.
Yeah.
But they're not the only people who are making this change.
To the point that also Alan Grant in the books is actually explicitly based on Jack Horner.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, down to the way they describe his appearance. Like he is just Jack Horner.
He's just Jack Horner.
Right. I want to also build on Dalton's point, because one other interesting thing that's not really as relevant to Jurassic Park, but it is kind of important, is that there was also a lot of debate right now. This wasn't like every paleontologist kind of suddenly getting on the same train and moving the field in one direction. There were a lot of people who were bitter holdouts until like the first time we found fossils of feathered dinosaurs, who were saying dinosaurs are not the ancestors of birds. There are still a couple of people who say that, but they're not really paleontologists. But dinosaurs aren't the ancestors of birds. They might not be a natural group. They're certainly not warm-blooded. There's papers from like the mid-'80s based on AMNH material where they say like not warm-blooded, couldn't be, something wrong about the growth rates or whatever. It's just an interesting time to really go back into literature and read, because like there's a lot of people moving the field forward and a lot of people who are like, I disagree with this. I think it's all wrong. We are going to try to fight for the status quo. Mm-hmm. And that kind of continues until the late 80s when Jacques Gautier, a paleontologist at Yale, who is he is your PhD advisor, right, Dalton?
He's my advisor, yeah.
So why don't you say what he did?
Well, so Jacques, as part of his PhD work, this was like at the like advent of actually doing cladistic methods in paleontology, and
do we want to talk about quickly like what the difference is between like what do we mean when we say cladistics versus like how did people get evolutionary trees before cladistics, and what is cladistics, like very quickly?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah.
Someone with a more historical background on that might take that one than me.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can just give a quick summary of like basically before. So what cladistics proper is you're using an objective method to quantify how related things are. So how we do this typically is we assign different numbers to different states of a trait. For an example, like a character is a thing that can have different traits. So think of a character as the number of finger bones, and the different states are the individual numbers or variations of that trait that you can have. And so for cladistics, what you do is you look at a bunch of different animals and you turn those differences into numbers. That way you can use a computer algorithm to figure it out, and you are theoretically not biasing the results. You're letting the computer figure out what the most likely arrangement of these things are based on the numbers that they have in common or don't have in common. Before we had this method, which was, I want to say 1966. I should know this. It's either 66 or 56. Hennig.
Well, so I mean, there's
I have the book. I should know, but
I think it's 66.
like it's like when it was like used in paleo versus like, because the original essays on this I think were in the 50s.
Well, right, yeah. So no, I'm just saying, like, I'm not talking about paleo really. I'm just talking in general in biology. So Hennig is a German scientist, a German entomologist who developed this method, introduced this idea through a series of essays in the 50s, and then with the book called Phylogenetic Systematics in 1966. Prior to this, basically, how scientists were putting together evolutionary trees was vibes. They would kind of just categorize things based on how they thought they went together, based on visually assessing the different similarities and things that they had in common. But it wasn't like a quantitative numbers or mathematical based way of figuring it out, which is what we use today.
So that is technically correct.
Yeah.
There was so this kind of vibes-based paleontology. There was a push in the, I want to say 30s through 60s, to have an empirical way of classifying animals, and that was phonetics.
Yeah.
And that was rejected largely by the evolutionary community, well, the biology community, because it was non-evolutionary. They essentially, these were groups of similarity, and they would be scored by a distance matrix. And the kind of the context of where cladistics emerged from is like, okay, this is going to be empirical, but it's also going to be evolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I can't remember if it was in the book Cladistics or later on, when kind of, because this debate raged through the 60s and 70s, where it was like, hey, cladistics does a better job making taxonomic groups using the standards the phoneticists care about than phonetics does. So that kind of killed phonetics.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that to make it clear for our audience, because like Amelia's explanation is like very correct on the level that it is about being objective and quantitative. But the difference between phonetics and cladistics fundamentally is that in cladistics, you are not looking at just similarities. You are looking at similarities that are evolutionarily informative, which is like
shared
derived traits, as they put it.
And
not just gross similarity.
Right.
Yeah.
So like what we could, so here's an example that's commonly given, right? The most primitive vertebrates don't have legs, right? These are like lampreys and hagfish. They have a spinal column. Hagfish don't even have vertebrae. There was a debate for a long time as to whether they were outside of this group. They appear to be within it now, that they're kind of just one of the most primitive anatomically, but they're within the group of vertebrata. So they don't have paired limbs. They just have like a spinal column, and they undulate. And then bony fish develop paired appendages. These paired appendages develop into limbs as we know them in tetrapods. Some groups of tetrapods lose their limbs. So if we're doing a phonetic tree and we look at, say, a human, a turtle, a crocodile, and a snake, we would say clearly the human and the turtle and the crocodile are more closely related to each other because they share the trait of having limbs, whereas the snake is different and lacking that. But the reason that the snake lacks limbs is that it's an evolutionary novelty where they've rederived the limbless condition. Within the group Tetrapoda, which includes all of these animals, the default state is to have all those limbs. And so with cladistics, you're polarizing the state changes based on like some animal or group of animals that is outside of your group of interest to know what the novelties are. Right? These are synapomorphies, is the technical term, shared derived characters. And that's like the key insight that Hennig made. That is like one of the most fundamental things in biology.
Yeah, and so that being it's called the outgroup comparison. So the outgroup is the animal that is outside of the group that you're interested in. So you want to figure out the direction of change within a group of interest. Your outgroup is kind of the set the not starting point, because that's not quite correct, but like James said, to kind of identify what is special within this group that can help us differentiate those things specifically.
Right. And this is something that's hard. It's hard to do without cladistic methods. Like, if you're looking at two fossils, this is something I learned early in my PhD. Like, I would look at fossils and I'd be like, these two look way more alike than this other thing. But you have to know if they look alike because they're inheriting default or primitive anatomy, or if because they're sharing unique derived anatomy. And that's something that is hard to do without the computer.
Yeah. So,
all that is to say, oh, sorry, Amelia.
No, I was just gonna say, like,
gotcha.
so to bring it back to like the Renaissance and how it relates to Jurassic Park and all of that.
Yeah. So in the 80s, my advisor, Jacques Gaudier, is working on his PhD thesis, and he's interested in the evolution of reptiles as a whole. This group called diapsids, which pretty much does encompass all modern reptiles. And he creates the first cladistic tree of this group. He does like one of the first, if not the first, cladistic analysis of like all reptiles. Included in that are dinosaurs, and included in that are birds. And his analyses show a couple of things. One, they underscore that yes, dinosaurs are a monophyletic group. They are a real group. I believe that he gets the same groups that we tend to kind of consider the canonical groups of Ornithischia and Saurischia, not the Phytodinosauria that Bakker was in favor of. And importantly, he finds that birds are theropod dinosaurs. Like, there's no way around the fact that birds are so highly nested, not just within archosaurs, not just within dinosaurs, within theropods and well up the theropod tree. Like, there would be, to call a bird not a dinosaur would be the equivalent of calling Velociraptor or T-Rex not a dinosaur. Like, there's functionally no difference in making that claim. So his work is like, birds are dinosaurs. Then he goes on to do another like a number of other important phylogenetic analyses, but within the context of Jurassic Park and the dinosaur renaissance, that's kind of his big contribution.
Right. And so all of this is happening in the 1980s when a famous science fiction author is trying to find ideas for his next book. And so Michael Crichton, who wrote the novel Jurassic Park, on which the movie was based, was mainly writing, I think, between 1986 and 1989. I think the book came out. The book came out in 1990.
The book came.
Yeah. So he's writing in the late 80s at the culmination of all of this. Right? And so all of this literature and all of this research is like not how we see it now coming into the field when we have as like historical basis for the field. This is like bleeding edge science as it's coming out. It's informing what he's writing and what he's thinking about in terms of how to portray dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One book in particular.
A book that I have strong desire to make a solo YouTube video about, so be on the lookout for that someday when we get around to making it. But just as we were saying that like Bakker and Horner are really important because they're kind of public facing and they're communicating this research that would otherwise stay within paleontological circles out to the public. Another scientist and artist does a book to communicate these like new ideas about dinosaurs extremely well to the public, and it's this one right here. It's Predatory Dinosaurs of the World, which is basically, if you read it, this is Jurassic Park. Like, this is the Jurassic Park. I've been reading it in preparation of making this video, and there's no documented confirmation of Michael Crichton getting inspiration from this book because there's very little documentation about the writing of Jurassic Park. But there's no way around the fact that you read this and you're like, oh, this is why this happens in Jurassic Park, is because he read Predatory Dinosaurs of the World.
Dalton, I feel like I remember something that slightly contradicts that, but I'm going to check it. So
it's full of feathered dinosaurs too, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, so that
and even feathered like Ligurpitids and stuff.
Did you mention who wrote that book?
Gregory S. Paul.
GSP.
Greg Paul.
A man who I respect.
Publicly warred with.
I've had a public war with Gregory S. Paul. And it made me very sad because Greg Paul's writings were really important to me as a young person getting into the field, and I respect him as an artist tremendously. And
oh my God, yes.
It hurt a little bit to go to war with him and have it be pretty ugly to the point where he probably hates my guts right now.
Why is there a goat out? Why is
hang on, there's
dead?
a goat out and a person is dead. I need to
He's
oh
also
my
like,
God, this park is not going well.
not just in like art, but he's written some like pretty good. Oh no, one of the Velociraptors got out.
Oh god.
Also, he's written some pretty good essays. So like he's got.
We're just gonna
in the same book in which the big theropod matrix called Twig is published. He has this kind of response piece to Rubin et al. About dinosaur respiration that is just this very good, like point by point, like, no, this is why dinosaurs didn't breathe like a crocodile. It's great. He can distill science to an effective, like down to effective, sharp points, and poke holes in bad ideas.
Yeah.
On occasion.
Now his paper about T-Rex actually being 3 species was not his best work, and the public war we're getting at is that me and Amelia's undergraduate advisor Thomas Carr were co-lead authors on a paper rebutting that point and showing that there's only evidence for 1 species of Tyrannosaurus, which is T-Rex. And Greg Paul seemed to be very upset about this, and this makes me sad because I'd always wanted to talk to him and maybe get my copy of Predatory Dinosaurs of the World signed, and I don't think he's going to do that.
Oh, he might still sign it. He'll just say some bad things in it.
Yeah, that would be funny.
He'll sign it. He'll I don't know, maybe sign something in his own.
Honestly, like, James, it would be genuinely the funniest thing to have like one of your idols as a child like write in a book that he wrote, like, "F you piece of shit, I f***ing hate you." Yeah. Gregory S. Paul 2023. Like,
so the reason I bring up his name though is that in the acknowledgments for Jurassic Park, which I remembered and I'm happy I did, and I'm happy I had the novel at arm's reach. Michael Crichton writes, "In preparing this novel, I have drawn on the work of many eminent paleontologists, particularly Robert Bacher, John Horner, John Ostrom, and Gregory S. Paul."
Huh. There you go.
Yeah. So those are like, that's kind of why those are the 4 we talk about with Jurassic Park, because they are the 4 who like were kind of primarily responsible for what's in the book. Not necessarily for the literature, but like this is what Michael Crichton was really responding to.
And it's not like a coincidence. Well, it is a little bit of a coincidence because I guess they technically started beforehand. A great fortuitous coincidence that like these movies come out basically at the same time that the Mongolian expedition stuff is all beginning to get published.
Right. Well,
which is just
starting.
like, yeah. Well, it started in like what?
I think 1990 there was a brief reconnaissance trip, but it started in 91 with the AIM-H cruise.
Right. Yeah, so they would be getting back. Yeah, they would just be getting stuff out, and that's all slam dunk, like active dinosaur, bird dinosaur stuff, just like one after the other. Bing bang boom, furculas, brooding, all that jazz.
Yeah, and so that's
processes on the ribs.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just amazing stuff. And like bird-like endocranial anatomy, like that's some of the first places we were able to see like the evolution of the bird brain. And then, of course, in the late 90s, we found feathered dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right, Sinosauropteryx. We did not. We were 4.
I did it.
It was Scott while he was 5.
Sinosauropteryx, I think, was published the month I was born.
Oh, wow.
My
God.
Oh, wow. No. Really?
96. I think it came out in September.
Wow. Yeah.
It's been fated.
God. Yeah.
I can't prove it was the day, but that'd be pretty funny.
I can actually prove it was the day because I can just find the paper.
You could look it up.
Where's the T-Rex?
Important questions.
Huh.
I haven't seen it in a hot minute on the thing.
I thought maybe it died, but like maybe it died and decayed.
I do. While we're looking this up, did everybody else get a kick out of that one Jeep that was just stuck in a corner for like ages, and we would just cut back to it, and it would be the woman in there glitching out? Like,
I did enjoy that.
These things happen.
Where's the T-Rex?
Oh, well, the Majungasaurus died of old age, so it's very possible the T-Rex also died of old age. Majungasaurus famously not in Jurassic Park, but it happened to be in this game mode.
Sad. It doesn't say the day it was published, but it was 1996, September 2001. Or I'm sorry, no. It was translated in September of 2001. It was published in 96.
It was published in 1996, September of 2001.
Right.
That's how we do dates here.
1996 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's right. So so the Gobi expeditions led by the AMNH and the Mongolian Academy of Sciences start yielding material in the early 90s. Then the mid 90s, we find feathered dinosaurs in China, and everything just explodes from there. But what's kind of important to know, and it's something that's a little bit different now, is like Jurassic Park, and this is a good segue to the last part of the video we wanted to talk about, really put dinosaurs in the forefront of like what was considered important science in a way that it had never been before. Like the dinosaur renaissance was interesting and an important movement, but it didn't lead to like a proliferation of like investment in positions for dinosaur paleontologists. There were a couple of part of the reason that we don't talk about a lot of people at that time is dinosaur-based paleontology or dinosaur-focused paleontology was kind of barely a thing.
Dinosaur paleontology took a while to become based.
Right.
It wasn't mammal teeth.
Right, it wasn't mammal teeth. And at that time, most paleontologists who worked on vertebrates kind of just did everything. Like they would just dig in an area and describe what they found. They didn't really, there weren't really dinosaur specialists at the moment or at the time.
I think this is probably would be something interesting to do for another video. But in terms of like an interesting document of kind of the impact of the dinosaur renaissance, I have in my attic somewhere every National Geographic that has been published since like the 1880s, collected by my my grandfather, and I think it only runs up to like 2020. But I remember like years and years ago, maybe when I was still in high school, I would go up there when I was bored and I would just go through the boxes and find every single one that was about dinosaurs. And there's like a few early on. I remember stumbling across the one that has all the hand-drawn illustrations of deep sea fish. So cool. And then like barely anything about dinosaurs in this National Geographic. 70s, there are a few stories. And then like 90s to now, like there's small issues, special issues, just all over the place. And it's National Geographic it's not the perfect pulse for like American interest in science, but like it's not a bad proxy.
Right. No, it's not a bad proxy at all. And there just was like there were popular books, things were starting, but it took Jurassic Park as a huge cultural phenomenon. Like again, highest grossing movie of all time by a lot.
Yeah.
Like the prior
at
one,
the time,
the prior one had been E.T. And so Spielberg beat himself, which must have been a great feeling.
Jaws, E.T. Yeah,
right,
he's like
it was 3 times in a row. It was just Jaws.
He's doing
Well, Star Wars interrupted.
He's doing the James Cameron thing.
Interrupted.
Right, doing the James Cameron thing before James Cameron did it. But like Jurassic Park blew E.T. out of the water. It wasn't a slim victory. It was more similar. It wasn't quite the magnitude, obviously, but it was more similar to Avatar beating Titanic, of like a stupid margin.
Yeah.
So it really took that. But in the 90s in particular, like dinosaur discoveries were on the front of the New York Times a lot.
Yeah.
They were on Time magazine. They were like, I mean, Mark Norell, mine and Amelia's PhD advisor, was like featured in so many important New Yorkers things. Like he became almost he was a celebrity scientist by that point for many reasons, but like also kind of had local celebrity cachet. Like important people wanted to talk to him at the AMNH about his work, which is something that dinosaur paleontologists didn't really have before that.
Yeah. I think Dinomania is like a known 90s phenomenon because after Jurassic Park comes out, you get not only the Jurassic Park sequels, but tons of other like ancillary dinosaur media of everyone trying to cash in on Dinomania. Like Carnosaur, we mentioned earlier. You get things like Tammy and the T-Rex, which is barely related to dinosaurs.
Jim Henson's dinosaur show.
Right.
Yeah, the dinosaur TV show. I think even like Disney's Dinosaur is riding the coattails of this. Like it's still on that wave. Not riding the coattails of Jurassic Park, but of this cultural phenomenon of like Dinomania.
Oh yeah, because like Walking with Dinosaurs was like explicitly made with like some BBC execs watched that and were like, "Can we do this?"
Mhm.
And the answer was not really.
The answer was not really, but they got close in some ways.
They did very well for the resources they had.
And then apparently whoever designed the T-Rex in Walking with Dinosaurs just didn't watch Jurassic Park because it was like, just copy it. You're fine.
Yeah, and
and
I mean, it wasn't only Walking with Dinosaurs. There were it felt like when I was a kid, there was a new, really high quality dinosaur documentary out every 6 months, right?
Oh,
there was
yeah.
Walking with Dinosaurs, when dinosaurs roamed America, Dinosaur Planet, a bunch of other things that were like Discovery Channel, not with recreated life like dinosaurs, but like interviews with paleontologists, fossil footprint sites, and everything. I had so many.
Jurassic Fight Club, the continuation of the Walking with series with Walking with Beasts, Walking with Monsters,
running from dinosaurs,
Walking
running
with
from
Cavemen.
Chased by dinosaurs.
Chased by dinosaurs and chased by sea
That's what I meant.
Yeah. I mean, it is running away from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I remember every moment of my life in perfect detail.
Running away from dinosaurs.
Running away from sea monsters.
I'm very hungry.
I have barely eaten today. But yeah, it's like that cultural moment is why the five of us have jobs and careers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a very real sense. Like Mark Norell told me at the bar at one point, I was asking his opinion. I was a first-year grad student, so my main pastime was like, Mark, what do you think of ex-paleontologist? So that I could learn all of the tea, who was liked and who was not liked. But I asked him, what do you think of Bob Backer? And he was like, and Bob Backer's had a pretty complicated scientific career. And I don't want to get into all of that now. It would distract from the point. But Mark was like, listen, I don't love all of his research.
Stop. You're talking about something Mark said. You have to do it in his voice.
Do the voice.
It was like...
Everyone's done it. Everyone's done it when they're quoting him.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, listen. I don't really like all of his research. But without Bob Backer, none of us could do what we do. I couldn't do what I do. He's the one who let all of this happen.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, it wasn't only Bob Backer, obviously. What?
Yeah.
You hope Mark doesn't watch?
I hope he watches the channel. I hope he watches the channel.
I don't think he does.
He might.
I hate that. I choose to not.
He
I
really
I
might.
not see it.
Remember, he has an Instagram.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, I'm gonna banish that thought from my mind. So, but yeah, the reason that a bunch of jobs for dinosaur paleontologists at major universities and museums opened in the 90s and early 2000s, as they were expanding, was because there was all of this interest in dinosaurs. And that's carried through to allowing people who were not even born when the movie came out to have these careers where we have resources available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And enough scientific interests that we're permitted to enter a PhD program.
Well, and today
Most of us.
I think I did tell you guys this today. I won't name the person responsible, but there's a person with a lot of money who donates a lot of this money to the American Museum specifically for the paleontology program, who has paid for my first publication fee and now for one of my collections visits. Obviously, not that they're making the decision, but they have given the museum a pot of money.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a paleontologist. They have some background adjacent to it, but they really like dinosaurs, and they show that by giving the AMNH money.
So I think, and I'll stop my diatribe here because I want to let other people talk about this concept, but I personally find it disappointing that there has not been a similar burst in Dinomania from the resurgence of the Jurassic Park franchise. That's not to say it hasn't had an impact.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of kids in particular are really connecting with it, and it's spurring a lot of their interest. It's not like it's doing the no cultural impact thing that Avatar did.
I think
I
Jimbo,
said this to upset Alex, but
I saw his entire body language
I think
change.
it's just that culture
didn't hear what he
responds to
said.
media in a different way now.
Yeah.
So I think Dalton's kind of onto it. I think it's even. I don't think you will get another pulse until the thing beyond CGI comes.
Yeah.
I think why that it succeeded as it did was basically it was CGI. It's like, this is what it does.
Mhm.
And like the puppets and all the practical effects are fantastic. But like that shift in public consciousness was because they saw it, right? And all the care that was put into the designs. But everything since Jurassic Park has been iterations of it, in that, look what we can do with computers now. It looks better, the more accurate. But until it's like, Jurassic Park 7 is a robot that crawls onto your like brain stem and just like taps it to give you like the good drugs, and you see dinosaurs in front of you, that you're like, that's real. I don't know. I think that's probably the next pulse, is when visual media kind of gets its next leap.
And I think this is kind of tying back to earlier talking about practical effects, because that personally for me, that I guess I can't say much about CGI because I don't know what it would have been like to experience CGI for the first time, given that, speaking of first movies, my first movie was Toy Story 2, which is all CGI. So I've grown up in this generation of CGI being a thing that is normal and common. But I think the way for a dinosaur movie to kind of go back and capture the original magic, so to speak, of Jurassic Park would be phenomenal robots unlike anything we've ever seen. Like, I think for me, because it's like nothing, it's always going to be CGI. No matter how realistic it is it's still CGI. Like, like we were talking about in Prehistoric Planet, right? Like, that is probably nearing the limits of how good CGI can get. And there's still just something not quite there about it. There's something that you don't feel with that I feel like something like an actual physical model that can interact with the environment and interact with the actors brings to the table. So I think...
Or Avatar, The Way of Water.
Sure, fine. But anyway, I for a movie like Jurassic Park, because like we've had that test of if it's the best CGI can be with Prehistoric Planet, we've had that test. And I think it's still kind of lacking that weight and that physicality to it that like a several $1 million puppet could bring.
I think you've solved it in there. Like, the solution to the next, without inventing like a new stupid technology or like a new way to watch a movie, is one, let James Cameron direct and plan and do all of the next trilogy. So you're like, that's there, and I will kill myself to go to Pandora. Or like Westworld, basically, just like
a place you can go.
Yeah.
Well, or just like robots that are so
tangible.
Incidentally, another Crichton property.
Yeah. So on the note of like robot, like one of the like this is very silly because this is a thing that was made for children. I mean, a lot of dinosaur media is made for children because that's something that I don't think will ever escape, and I don't think we should, because I don't know, adult paleo fans are like, oh, dinosaurs aren't just for kids, but it's like, but kids love dinosaurs, man, and like,
don't take it away from them.
That's like,
adult paleo fans sometimes cringe. Kid dinosaur fans never cringe.
Like I went to in high school when they were doing the Walking with Dinosaurs live arena tour, which I don't know if anyone else saw.
I know, I was really wanted to,
it's
but
like,
I never saw it.
Like, even those they're like kind of janky-ish robots, to be fair.
But god damn,
being able to experience a life-size, like free moving animal, that is the size, the scale, the like shape of a dinosaur, like that for me was like, I didn't get to experience Jurassic Park in theaters. It's always been a part of my life, but that was a moment to me where I was like, I'm seeing a dinosaur for the first time. Like, I'm seeing a dinosaur. It's in the Pepsi Center. It's walking around in front of me. Like, this is the next that's like when, and unfortunately those things are by virtue of being like a live spectacle event, more limited in the reach compared to a movie that anyone can go to a theater and see. But yeah, that's something of that kind of oeuvre is to me the next big dinosaur thing.
See, which is why I would actually argue that, very uncharacteristically pessimistically, that we're not going to get another one, because the biggest reason why Jurassic Park hit as heavy as it did was because the floor was so low beforehand, that the level of public like really latching on to dinosaurs as these animals was so low beforehand, like you said, Alex, with just cursory looking through National Geographics, that the reason why it was able to hit such a ridiculous peak is because it was starting from such a low base. And now I wouldn't say that we've even really lost that much on that peak. Like, every single one of us here has had the experience of talking to a new person and saying, "Hi, I'm a paleontologist," and them going, "Holy shit, really?" Like, that hasn't gone away.
It is cool.
And like, I mean, hell, every single one of us here has talked to the media about our job and what we do. I mean, hell, I was just in 2 newspapers down in Brazil because we showed up and we're looking for fossils. Like, this stuff is still hitting hard. The Jurassic World made record
I think
profits.
all of them made like over $1 billion.
Yeah,
right?
like Jurassic World, like all of the Jurassic World movies have just hit it out of the park in terms of profits. People are still in. So like, I guess, wow, I'm being very characteristically Scott. I'm being pessimistic, and then I'm being optimistic, and then it never went away.
No,
we're still
I think
here.
you're right.
Yeah. And I think
you're right, Scott.
To counter your pessimism. So we're gonna trade places here. Where I'll be optimistic. I know, and Scott's gonna be pessimistic.
Are you gonna take my blood type too? Be positive.
I don't know my blood.
You should.
I know. Next time I've not donated blood. I don't get blood work done often, but next time I'll ask about it. Anyways, this is not the point. This is so beyond the point.
It's a PSA, everybody. Know your blood type.
You live with a psychotic cat. What if it like rips one of your arteries open? Everyone's like, "What kind of blood do we give you for a transfusion?"
She's not.
Over.
Anyway, so to counter the pessimism here, I think that there's another bar that could be reached, and the bar that could be reached is a good director in the modern era. So a good director with modern CGI or practical effects, I think, could really make it click again. Because not only do you get everybody who's going to see it because people like dinosaurs and dinosaurs are cool, but then they're going to tell all their friends who are like, it's just a dinosaur movie, to go see it because it's really good. Like, kind of to circle back to that point of, with Jurassic World, it's very hard to tell your other friends, like, we should go see this. They're like, why? It's a dinosaur movie. I'm like, I know that. But I can't even say, like, no, it's really good. I'm like, no, it's silly. It's fun. Let's just go. You know, like, it's not as good of a pull as, like we were saying earlier, like James was saying earlier with Jurassic Park. It's like, no. You gotta go because it's also just a good movie. And I think that's an important part of why it was as successful as it is. And kind of also, I think, why we feel like the Jurassic World movies have not really lived up to it. Because, like, I am of the opinion that they're fine. I don't hate them. I understand that they're not masterpieces, but they're fine. But they're not Jurassic Park.
No. Well, none of the sequels are.
No.
Even the original ones. They all have their own, like, strengths and their own strengths and weaknesses, except for Fallen Kingdom, which I was the only one I didn't finish.
I love Fallen Kingdom. It's so
me
stupid.
Too.
But it's like, I don't know. Yeah. I've made a hobby out of watching dog shit movies, and like, it's not even funny bad. It's just like,
no, whatever. I find it funny broken, but we'll get to a different.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
later.
Neither here nor there.
For the 30th anniversary,
basically, Amelia, what you're saying is James Cameron has to direct.
Sure, I don't know. Fine. If you like
cutting edge CGI, a fire director,
or
those there were only 2 points.
David Villeneuve. I truly don't know how to understand.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Yeah. Or, oh my God, why am I losing his name right now? If we could get like a kick-ass horror movie by Jordan Peele, because I was thinking about Nope, and I'm thinking about like the effects that are used in that, and that it's kind of the blend of CGI and practical that I'm thinking about, and the way that like the thing about that movie, which I've said to you guys before, that it's not really my speed in terms of like movies that I enjoy, but I understand it as like a work of art and as a piece. And the way it kind of is a different sort of horror movie where most of it's happening during the day. And I think that that's an interesting, whoops, hit my microphone. I don't know. I think it would, a director like him or like Cameron or anybody else, not anybody else, I guess, like someone of that caliber,
Yeah.
to take the idea of dinosaurs. And I think the horror angle is a good angle. Like, is it overused? Maybe, but like, let's be real, dinosaurs are scary. Like, I am of the opinion that people complaining about, you know, people who make out dinosaurs too, they're just that people who make them are monsters. They're not monsters, they're animals. They're horrific. Like, it's a giant reptile with steak knives for teeth that's angry, probably, and not stupid either. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of potential there, but you need a good director, you need a good story, and it needs to look good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you need even a strong story for it to work, because like Jurassic Park is fantastic and what I would consider a perfect movie. Making sure Scott didn't hear me say that, but like
Other Scott,
not you. This is a never mind.
Does he
But,
not
like,
like
it's-
it?
He
No,
doesn't like
I
Alex's-
explained to once what my conception of a perfect movie was to Scott, and it baffled and upset him.
Oh my god.
Which was a movie I had no criticisms for. Which I'm like, that's what a perfect movie is. I have no criticisms for it. Anyway, like the narrative behind Jurassic Park is not particularly complex or new, or it's right. It's like a monster chase. It's a hunt. It's like if I were Siskel or Ebert, I'd be like, it's a haunted house movie, but the ghosts are dinosaurs. I'm not, because I find them a little reductive at some whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't need to be particularly complicated. As
No,
long
it
as
doesn't need
as
to.
long as I believe they're dinosaurs, which is why it has to be James Cameron. The man is making fake environments.
and it has the
Like, there's no
anti-capitalist.
other choice. What?
It also has the anti-capitalist message inherent to Jurassic Park.
Yeah, like he's the most obvious choice. I'm gonna write him an email. He'll respond.
Yes, he will. No, I think, like, I also find it very interesting because I did not say, well, no, I mean, this is not like a gotcha. I didn't even say that I wanted to explore why Jurassic World did not have the impact it did. I just kind of said I was sad that it didn't have that impact because it would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think obviously we're very entitled to speculate as to why. I echo Amelia's point. I think that we could get it back if there's a really compelling cultural touchstone movie. I think Dalton brought up earlier that he thinks that we relate to media differently now, and I think to some degree that's very true. Where there are like these huge tentpole movies that individually make more than like the highest grossing movies of the 90s did, and it happens multiple times a year, and we kind of don't care about them that much. Like the Fast and the Furious movies make like $1 billion each time one comes out, and all anybody does is make fun of them.
I care about
Hey,
those
shut
movies
up.
a lot. Those movies are rad.
I care about family.
I care about family and Corona.
In the new one, my brother was telling me that Vin Diesel compares himself to Jesus Christ. To clarify that he's not as cool as him, but you know, he floats it.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, there's not, there hasn't been, like, a movie with that kind of, Jurassic Park's got, like, a heart to it in some way that
Yeah.
I think I don't feel from the more recent sequels. I think that we need to move beyond Jurassic Park for that effect to ever happen again, if there's any chance of it. I don't think it could be a Jurassic Park sequel.
No.
Yeah.
It would have to be like a. It would have to be like a split, like a secret sequel that like you don't really realize is related to it until the end.
Well, it would have
Or-
to be like, sorry, it would have to be like the Battle at Big Rock short, where it has nothing to do with the previous movies, really, other than now people have to deal with dinosaurs. And I think that would be the only tie, where, like you said, at the end, maybe they could link it. But just the premise is there are dinosaurs here, and people have to deal with them in whatever form that takes.
I've had a fun pitch for like my favorite, like preferred Jurassic Park sequel for a while, but I'll tell you guys at the end because
Yeah.
I don't want this to go on forever.
Well, and I think
Okay.
it would have to be, and it would have to be something in the Cretaceous, but
Yeah.
regardless of what it is, or it could be the Jurassic too, I suppose.
Triassic monster. It's the time of freaks and
It
monsters.
would be
I
fun.
would absolutely say the Triassic after my expedition.
The one thing that I think is that whatever form it takes, it needs to do what
We have to
Jurassic
be the
Park
advisors.
Yes, we have to be the scientific
All of
advisors.
us.
All of us.
Yeah.
But also, it needs to do what Jurassic Park did and have a media campaign about being informed by modern science.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing that everybody forgets. It's not like Jurassic Park came out and everybody was like, wow, that must have been informed by recent science and paleontology. I should go read about it. There were news articles, documentaries, features for local news stations, everything about how they were doing, like, for the first time, Hollywood was working directly with paleontologists to make the dinosaurs as accurate as possible. And a bunch of people consulted. Jack Horner was the main one, but a bunch of people were involved.
Yeah.
And I think if you want to get everybody's interest going, you got to make a point. Like, you got to be like, we are doing the best
Something
job we
special.
possibly can to do something really special. Right.
And I think I guess the only recent movie I can think of that I remember really doing that was Interstellar. Like, I remember a lot of the PR being like,
Gravity,
this is
too.
real space. I was a little young
Gravity
for Gravity
sucks.
when it came out. Yeah, I was a little young for that. So the one that I remember is Interstellar. Interstellar is very special to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot. But that's the
Great
only one that
movie.
Huh?
Great movie.
It's a great
Yeah,
movie.
no, I love it.
Yeah.
But that's the one that I distinctly remember in part getting excited about it, because like space is another thing that I've always just liked growing up and learning about and all that kind of jazz. And I remember when it came out and they were doing all the PR for it, they're like, yeah, this is the most accurate space movie that's ever been made. Like, that's how they were pitching it. They're like, we are going to show you a black hole, and it's going to be like the most scientifically informed black hole we've ever seen. And like, lo and behold, a couple years later, we have a picture of a black hole, and it's not that different.
Yeah,
It's
it looks
so
just
cool.
like it. It's so cool.
I love it. So anyways, that's
Oh my God!
recently-
Right.
right. So that's like the only recent movie I can think of that really leaned into that angle of things.
The Martian as well.
The Martian.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that also was kind of like mid.
Right. But that's the one that I remember
Yeah.
distinctly as kind of taking that angle to hyping it, and it worked. A lot of people have seen it. A lot of people like it. Even if like some aspects of the story are kind of silly. Doesn't matter. It's still really cool and fun to watch.
And that's exactly what I'm imagining. Like, big press features about, like, there's research being done for this movie that will come out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right.
And
You know, it's a good movie because Neil deGrasse Tyson was an obnoxious pedant about it on Twitter.
and one of the things that I always point to for the reason for evidence of how much care was taken with Jurassic Park in terms of the scientific accuracy, it's one that I almost never hear anybody talk about, but it's my favorite example because it feels so natural that it almost feels unremarkable. We were talking earlier about how much of it was bleeding edge science that was being incorporated into this, and it's specifically at the very beginning of the raptors in the kitchen scene when the kids are all hiding in there and the raptor exhales and bogs the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
I love
just
that.
like that
I use that
means
gif
it's
in my-
warm-blooded.
Yeah.
And like no one it is a blink and you'll miss it moment. It feels so natural, it feels so right, and it's just like that the condensation on the glass there is still being debated right now when you are watching this movie. And that is such a cool factor.
Mhm.
Yeah. The other
I used
thing.
that gif in my qualifying exams to set up the breathing chapter.
Alex, why
'Cause
did
it's-
your audio suddenly get so bad?
Oh my god, did you exhale directly on the microphone and it's now f***ed up with your gag?
I might have done that.
Oh my
You
god.
came back. You're okay.
He blew it back into goodness. Amelia, you were gonna say
Yeah, I was thinking of a point. I wasn't sure at first where Scott was going with that, because I thought of another thing, like another point that's kind of like we're circling back a little bit to why the animals feel real. A detail about the T-Rex that I can't remember if it's something that I'm just picking up on. I've heard it before, in the context of other horror monsters. But like part of the reason it feels real is if you think about modern large terrestrial predators, they have round pupils. Birds also mostly have round pupils, and the T-Rex has round pupils. Like the velociraptors don't, but also like I don't know. I felt like that's an important component to like making that a character and making it stand out from other dinosaur depictions. Because like as we've been kind of getting at this whole time, prior to this movie, people really conceptualized dinosaurs as lizards, basically. Like even though they're not, and then even if they're not thinking, even if we know they're closely related to crocodiles, like a crocodile today is nothing like a dinosaur in terms of its activity levels and just kind of the way they interact with the world, because they're doing their own thing. They're not even very much like most of their ancestors and relatives are, with respect to how active they are and how they're interacting with their environment. I don't know. It's a nice detail that I think brings both like a uniqueness to the design and also brings it to life in a way that like other things don't, because like it just feels real. Because, and I saw this talked about in the context of horror movies, that like if you're designing a horror monster, even though we think about slit pupils as being scary, monsters are just objectively more unsettling if they have round pupils. Because if you think about predators that humans have been exposed throughout history, bears, lions, tigers, they all have round pupils.
No eyes. I realized, I know we want to wrap this up, but I realized I had just a little tiny, another fun detailed connection, which was to Jurassic Park. So the family friends, my mother's very close friends, who I watched the first Jurassic Park movie at their house in the dark on VHS. That woman's oldest son worked on the film.
Really?
Yeah, he worked with the props, and he stole one of the Tyrannosaur teeth. One of the Tyrannosaur tooth. Oh my God! Jesus
one of
Christ.
the Tyrannosaurus
out of the mouth.
Right.
My God, what the fuck is wrong with me? He got one of the teeth out, and he kept it. I don't know if he still has it.
I hope so.
He better.
40s now, but he showed it. He's like, "You want to see it?" I'm like, "Yeah." And it's just like this huge white yellow banana. It was one of the I think it was one of the maxillary teeth.
That's so cool.
And I just remember that being like that. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that was it. That was the story.
So Scott, do you want to pitch your dinosaur movie now, or should we wrap up the discussion?
Oh, we can wrap up the discussion. I was going to say that I was going to do it like when we were like off camera.
We could make that a video, like paleontology. That could be clicked.
Yeah.
People might watch that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure we've all got ideas.
Yeah. So I'll close it. So guys, I think that was a very long discussion, I'm sure. Scott has the misfortune of editing this week because I'm heading to a conference and Dalton's editing a different video. So, sorry, Scott.
Back in the saddle.
It's only been 2 hours and 12 minutes and 47 seconds of recording.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I think that we covered a lot of ground today, and I think this is just a small window into kind of not only the importance that Jurassic Park has had to us, but the importance that it has in the history of paleontology as a whole. It's a really, really special, important movie. There's a lot of dinosaur movies we do not need to talk about on this channel. They did not have an impact. We might talk about all of them because you might click on a video of us talking about them and that would give us money. But Jurassic Park...
in the comments, tell us if you want us to do a video about Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, Valley of Guan.
It's really good.
In the comments, genuinely tell us what dinosaur movie would you like us to do a video on.
No, only do it if you want us to do Tammy and the T-Rex.
Don't listen to Alex ever for anything he says, and listen to me only.
Right. We watch a lot of dinosaur movies. Clearly, we would love to make more videos about this stuff in the future. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have comments or questions for us, remember that we are live streaming in less than a week from when this video will go up, June 17th. Come there, you can chat with us, and we can take any questions or thoughts you have. We're really looking forward to being able to engage with our audience in a little bit of a more direct and immediate way. In addition to
we're contractually obligated to answer any question if you donate money. Any question that you ask us, we have to answer.
Unless it's about embargoed research.
If you donate money,
we'll laugh nervously.
No,
like that.
Even research.
Yeah. But before we go, I just want to remind you that if you enjoyed this video, we would appreciate you showing that by liking the video, leaving a comment telling us what you liked and what you want to see from us next, and if you subscribe to our channel so that you get notified when new videos go up and you show your support to us in growing our sub numbers. We, as of recording this video, crossed 4,800 subs, and we're going to do something very special when we hit 5,000, so help us get there. Thank you, Dalton, as always, for watching. And
Dalton, I'm the title of a Moby Dick. on the Moby Dick book cover.
Thank you very much for
Thanks for
watching,
watching.
everyone, and we'll
Yeah.
see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.